Hey, everybody, it's your lovely Lotus Blossom Lizzie. And today we are going to be making some beautiful envelopes using book pages. And I know everybody has book pages. So before we get started, I always like to invite you to subscribe to the channel if you love junk journaling like we do. This channel is all junk journal related. And also you can join us over in our Facebook group, which is Junk Journal Buddies. The link is below in the descriptions. And also there's even more content over on the Patreon channel. And I just want to thank all those who are current Patreons as well for your support. I really appreciate it. So I already made these two just to kind of show you what we're looking at, what it looks like. And I'll also show you some of the items as we go on how to make these. Now I made two types and I think I included these here. One is a fold up and it folds out like that, and I think this was a fold out as well. Now this one's just a regular envelope, so you can just tuck things into here. And again, this is just using some regular book pages. So you can, in the inside, you can put a piece of scrap paper here so that you can journal on it as well, but I'm just going to show you how to make the envelopes themselves. So let's put these to the side, and the first thing that you're going to need is some book pages, of course. And I have a book page, and let's see what the measurements are. I got a good size book page. I actually took some time to dismantle a book, and this is about 6 inches, so about 6 by 9, we'll say. That's a really good size for envelopes because you want to be able to tuck things in the inside. And so I got 2 sheets here, and I just glued them together, and I just used the Elmer's glue stick to do that. And what I wanted to do was make sure that I had one side that has the full book text, and the other side I didn't really care that much about, but you want to make sure that they're oriented the same way. And then the next thing I did was I took my decorative scissors and I cut around the edges. And when I cut around the edge, I wanted to make sure that I stay really close to the edge like this. So you can see I didn't cut too much off. And let me just make sure we stay on focus here. There we go. It's a little bit better. And I just took just a sliver off the edges because when I tore this book, I tried to make sure that when I tore the edge on this side, it was pretty straight. So I'm not going to go all the way around that. I'll show you one that is complete. So here we have one where I tore around the edges and I just kind of ripped off the hangers. I actually did a little bit of a hangout over on the Patreon channel where we prepared the pages. Even if you're not doing envelopes, preparing book pages by gluing them together and maybe doing some cuts is a great way to start off your ephemera collection. So if you have book pages and you don't know what to do with them, you can burn them in the fire. Or you can actually use them for something like this. So the next thing that I wanted to do was to orientate this so that it's kind of towards me and upside down, because I want to fold down, well, not fold down, but what I'm going to do is actually, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. What I want to do is do some decorative sewing across the top of the page. So I'll show you here how we did that. I'm not going to take the whippersnapper out, but I'll show you. So let's move this one to the side. So I just did the decorative sewing across the top, and this is the stitch that I want to use. I use my Brother SQ9185 computerized sewing machine, which has like 130 decorative stitches on it, and this decorative stitch in particular is number 54. So anybody that has a Brother machine, you should be able to pick this stitch, which is number 54. And the next thing that I wanted to do was to just give this a fold. So I turn this over. I want the full book text to be on the front, on the outside of the envelope. So this side didn't have the full book text, but that's okay. So the next thing I wanted to do was make sure this is oriented the right way. So with the top away from me and the bottom closest to me. And then I just folded it over. This is actually going to be the top. So I didn't want to, I just kind of eyeballed it and I folded it a few inches down. We'll see. I'll give you some specific measurements. I know some people like specific measurements. About 2.5 inches, and I just eyeballed all of the ones that I did. And then next, I turned it over and then I folded the bottom part in where we did the stitching. And again, I just folded it about at 3 inches. But really, I just eyeballed it and it actually came out pretty precise. So I'm proud of myself on that. And then you can fold that over. That's the top. So just remember the sewn in part is going to be in the inside, and then you have like the top edge here. So now there's a few things I want to do before I proceed to do more sewing on here, and that is prepare a few items. So I have a mini tab here that I'm going to use, and I sell these over the shop. Many of the things that I'm going to show you I have in the shop over at pleasantcreations.com, and you can check that out. So we have a mini tabs here, and then also I have like this little circle here. Now I did this little circle with my hole punch, and this is like a 5/8 of an inch hole punch. I kind of wish I had one that was bigger, but again, you have to use what you have. And so this is the one that I use. So I have those two pieces here that I'm going to be using. So let's just set this to the side. I also picked out some fabric that I'm going to use. I have like some scrap fabric. I have this little strip of gingham vintage. This is actual vintage feed sack scrap that I have here that I'm going to be using, and I didn't cut it down. I just kind of took it out the bag, and I'm going to use it in several spots on this particular journal. So let's just put that to the side here. And then another thing that I want to add to this is like one of these numbers. So on here you can see I have like these beautiful little tags here. These are actually made out of cardstock, and they're made from this digital kit that is up in the shop as well. And these are some random number tags, and this is what you get in the kit. So you have some larger numbers that you can use, and then I did them like on a smaller level, so a few different sizes. And here's another size here, and then some really small ones. So those are up in the shop as well. So I cut some of these out. And for this one, I am going to use this tag here. Now when I cut it, it had just a little bit of white around it. So I'm just going to make sure my white is off of here. And I made these tags. I actually printed mine on cardstock, and I cut them with my Brother Scan and Cut. So you can easily cut these with your Brother Scan and Cut. So let's just put that to the side as well. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to sew around this envelope. And I made this really easy to do because I'm just going to sew around here, go all the way up to the top, across and down, and then here. And then this is what you'll come out with. So you'll have this piece. Now when you do the sewing, what I did was I made sure that, let's use this. Let's bring this guy back here. When you sew it, because these are 2 pages here, I just kind of open up the pages on the side that are at the top, and I tucked my tab in. Now you can use anything for your tab. You can actually use a bigger hole punch and just punch a hole, and you can use a half of a hole here. You can use fabric, you can use a square, whatever you have, but I'm going to use these well-tailed shape tags that are made from cardstock as well, heavy cardstock, and then I tuck them in between. So when I do go around and I sew everything, so again, I'm going to keep that folded in and sew all the way around. Then this will be encased inside of here. But if you forget, you can sew it on the top as well. So let's just move this over to the side. And so this is what you'll come out with. So you can see everything is sewn around this way. And then we have our little tab here. So the next thing that we're going to do, I actually have some pieces tucked inside here. But the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to punch the hole in our circle. So let me find a circle. And I'm going to use my We Are Memory Keepers eyelet punch. And you can use your Big Bite if you have one. And now this is like so small that what I decided to do is use some tweezers. Let me get my tweezers out here. I just use some tweezers to handle this basically. And then I'm going to punch this at a 1/8 hole punch, which is the small hole punch here. And I'll have links to everything that I use, so you can get this on Amazon or any of the box stores. Okay, so I punched a hole. I just kind of eyeballed it. You could kind of eyeball it and use a pencil and then punch it, but this is fine for me. And then I'm also going to punch a hole in the tag. And you can punch it in the top or at the bottom, but I'm going to punch mine close to the top. Alright, so we have a hole here. I don't know if y'all can see that hole. And then we have our little hole here. So I am going to get some eyelets out that are for 1/8. Let's just get 2 of those. And it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to show you, so I'm going to go ahead and put these on. Alright, and alright, so that one went on very nicely. Okay, so those are ready. And then actually what I wanted to do was to put the eyelet on here. So I'm going to punch another one of these out and get that ready. Okay, so I want to put a hole here, and I'm just going to eyeball it again around the middle. I'm going to make sure I'm using the 1/8 of the 1/8 on the eyelet punch here, and then I'm going to add this in before I crunch it down and use the eyelet setter. Okay, and now we have that on. So we have both of our eyelets on here that we're going to be using. And then the next thing that we're going to do is select our numbers. So again, I'm using these sheets here, and I picked some pretty big numbers for this one. I think I picked the first one, which is the large size that I'm going to put on here. I think maybe I'll pick like a smaller size. Let's see. How about this one? Alright, let's move that out of the way. So I'm going to use this and then my fabric. So there's a few things that I want to use the fabric for, but at the moment I want this to just kind of be a little bit of an embellishment. I'm going to sit this on top of here. So I'm going to cut this down a smidge. And this is where this will get sewn on. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, I'm not going to sew just yet. Let me show you where else. And I would like to put a piece here, just a small piece of fabric next to the tab. So let's cut this as well. Alright, so I'm going to sew these two on. I sewed on this piece here, and I'll bring it up so you can get a better view, with a little bit of lace. And then I also sewed this piece on by the tab just to give it a little bit of embellishment. And then so far we have everything done here. Now on this particular envelope you don't see the inside, and that's because I picked one that didn't have the inside, but I'll show you the inside sewing. But this one has the inside sewing. So what I would do is I would put this one on here, this piece on here, and then also put the fabric on this side, as well as the holes and the eyelets, everything. And so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put some string on here. And for this one, I'm just going to use this black and white twine that I have. And again, you can use what you have. And this is kind of an extra step. You don't have to do this. And I'm going to stick this into this hole. And by this hole being here, it's going to be kind of a reinforcement. And then I'll just put a knot, so it won't pull through. I actually double knot it. And if you don't like a little bit of bulk, you can actually tape this on the back or sew it on, but I'm just going to do some knots before I cut it. And I'm going to go around about 3 times. 1, 2, about like that. And give it a cut. So it looks like that. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is to add like some embellishments. So I made some little tags to hang off, and I'm using some garment pins as well. And those I have in the shop. And I also have some of these little tags in the shop also. So I'm going to use maybe 2 of these and maybe another piece of fabric, because I'm just all about the fabric right now, to hang off. And I'll need one more pin here. You can see what they look like. And all right. And then we have like our little dangles on the side. And so that's it. And it makes like a perfect little tuck spot for everything. And so you can just kind of do these kind of in an automated fashion, of course, and assembly line fashion, and just do all those steps and do a few envelopes at a time. So I'll actually have some of these that are already made up in the shop as well. But I wanted to show you how I made them because I thought this was pretty cool. And then I'll also be showing you how I make these dangles in a separate video. So please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And also I love to hear your comments on your thoughts as to if you would do this a little bit differently or you like it just the way that it is. So make sure you subscribe as well. So love, peace, and hair grease from your sweet lotus blossom and lovable Lizzie. Have a fantabulous day and enjoy life.